Hello and welcome to the Evening News for today, Tuesday, May 13, 2014. I'm Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for joining us. In the headlines, no charge for Dr. Ashni Singh. Ramatar says money used for his travel are authorized by the Constitution. GLU says Carol Suba is the acting town clerk. Establishment of local government commission in limbo. Region 10 RDC blocks Bai Shan Lin's proposals for setting up of wood processing plant, and jury system needs to be reanalyzed. Now for the news in detail. The Ghana Police Force says that no charge will be laid against Finance Minister Dr. Ashni Singh following his involvement in an accident on MASH Day. The force, in a release to the media this afternoon, said that legal advice has been obtained from the Director of Public Prosecutions that no charge be instituted since the affected parties, Jagannath Hira and Parvati Shivcharan, have stated that they no longer wish to pursue the matter. In this story, you'll hear now that Head of State President Donald Ramatar has provided a profound response to the queries being made by Apt News Member of Parliament Desmond Trotman about expenditure for his overseas trips. The President spoke with Alexis Rodney, who filed this report.
When contacted earlier today on the issue, President Ramatar said that he has used whatever is necessary to carry out his function as head of state. He said too that all money used for his overseas trips are constitutionally allotted to him. President Ramatar will offer no other comment on the matter except to say that a response will be furnished in accordance with the laws. He appeared relaxed during the interview and confident that the law was on his side. His response comes at a time when a Partnership for National Unity Member of Parliament Desmond Trotman is expected to receive answers to several questions he posed in the legislature concerning the President's overseas travel and costs. Trotman wants to know how many official trips Ramatar has gone on since becoming president and the costs associated. Information about his delegation is also being sought. Additionally, APNU wants to know how the trips are benefiting Guyanese in the medium and long term. It also wants details about Jagdio's travels and entitlements thus far, as well as the costs associated with his benefits after retirement. Reporting for the Evening News, I'm Alexis Rodney.
Given the current climate at the Georgetown City Council, Guyana Labour Union President Carville Duncan says he's concerned that the state of affairs there will have a negative impact on the union's workers. He has since informed them that Carol Suba is the only acting town clerk. Jomo Paul reports.
Carville Duncan's concerns come following a memorandum issued to workers notifying them of a meeting with town clerk Royston King. Duncan is concerned that the personal officer of City Council was out of order when he issued the memo.
We are disappointed with the town clerk, with the personal officer and Mr. Town Clerk. We are disappointed with the personal officer. By writing such a letter, knowingly that Royston King is not the town clerk acting. There can be no two town clerks in any one town. And having read the ruling for Mr. Ian Chan, I am satisfied that Mr. Chan is right. And he's right in more than one cases. And therefore, the town clerk is Ms. Sober until such time as a commission is established.
Duncan said that after reviewing the ruling made by the Chief Justice, he is satisfied that Carol Suba is the acting town clerk and has informed his union members of its position.
My instruction to my workers is that they must take instructions only from Ms. Suba, nobody else. And as a consequence of that instruction, I'm calling my executive together tomorrow afternoon in the whole municipality. We are meeting here at 3 o'clock. So I can send the message home quite clearly. And then shortly from that, I'll have a members' meeting to explain to the workers this whole scenario. I will not allow my workers to be used as political pawns in order to satisfy one's ego.
Duncan pointed out that as of right now, the union is concerned about the effects of the political crossfire between the two sides at the City Council.
Once my workers is working and they are paid by the week and they are paid at month end, my problems are over. Because I'm a trade unionist, I'm not a politician. But when you're going to drag my worker into a political scenario, which is interfere with their payment, which may force council to make different decisions, where they will suffer in the long run, I have to come in at this point in time to protect them.
For the evening news, Jimo Paul.
Meanwhile, President of the Guyana Labour Union, Carville Duncan, says that the only solution to the current saga at the City Council would be the implementation of an interim management committee to perform the duties of the council.
President of the Guyana Labour Union, Carville Duncan, says that the only possible solution to the current crisis at the City Council would be the implementation of the government's proposed interim management committee, IMC.
Green is a failure. He's in his last straw now. Ask him why the late Desmond had kicked him off the party. Let them get emotional. Ask him that. Right? But the reality is, an interim committee is the only answer to the City Council problem at this time. It's the only answer. And like the private sector, we are saying, let us have an interim committee now and fix a date sometime either this year or next year and have local government elections.
Duncan opined that the Mayor Hamilton Green was a political dinosaur and should remove himself from the mayoral position at the council.
I want the nation to understand that Mr. Hamilton Green, he used to refer to me as Hitler, but he's worse than Hitler. At least he's more stupid than Hitler. Should understand that the days for those 1930 politics is over.
Yesterday, Green related that he will not accede to the request of the government and vacate his post at the City Council.
When a certain leader made the mistake of getting his council to resign, I'm making a mistake. I'm also acting. They can't provoke me. They can't threaten me. As Council Chase may tell you, a certain man was ugly and thin comes here with certain tobacco knives. Well, I was in this thing since 1950s. All right then. And those punks can't frighten me.
For the evening news, I'm Gabriella Patram.
The Guyana Police Force this afternoon said that the Office of Professional Responsibility has completed its investigations into the matter involving 15-year-old Alex Griffith, who was shot in his mouth by a policeman. The file has been forwarded to the chairman of the Police Complaints Authority today, Tuesday, May 13, 2014. Guyana Reparations Committee Chairman Dr. Eric Phillips says the committee's report is near completion and should be submitted to the Culture, Youth and Sport Minister Dr. Frank Anthony and President Donald Ramotar by June 15. The details in this report.
During a telephone interview, Dr. Phillips related that the research for the 4 key documents which are to be examined have been completed, and at this point in time, the analysis and writings are being compiled. He noted that while a lot cannot be disclosed at the moment, the research has proven to be very much beneficial and will be shattering several long-held beliefs of history. Phillips communicated that the committee has given itself up until June 1 to finish every aspect, including the executive summary of the report. And while this seemed very possible at this point in time, the report will only be sent to the President and Minister on the 15th, as outside stakeholders with and without links to the research and report will be invited to peruse the document before it is finally sent off. After perusal by Minister Anthony and the President, the report will be sent to the Foreign Affairs Ministry and then off to CARICOM. According to the chairman of the committee, CARICOM will be sending off the report to the monarchies of Great Britain, France and Spain by the first week in July, around the time when the Caribbean will be celebrating Freedom or Emancipation Day as is commonly known, to begin process of seeking reparations. The Guyana Reparations Committee was established under the CARICOM Reparations Commission in October 2013, following the mandate of the 24th meeting of the Conference of Heads of Government held in Trinidad and Tobago last year. The Reparation Committee was established to seek compensation for the wrongs which were inflicted upon the indigenous people and Afro-Guyanese during enslavement by the Spanish, English, and French. In presentation of the report, the Caribbean countries will be seeking an apology rather than a statement of regret, an admission of wrongdoing, a commitment to reasonable reparation, and a commitment of non-repetition of the sin against mankind from the countries named. It is expected that whatever reparations are given, it will be used for the development of citizens in the country, particularly the descendants of the people who were once enslaved. For the Evening News, Alexis Rodney.
Outgoing University of Guyana Pro-Chancellor Dr. Prem Miser says no final decision has been made on increases of tuition fees at the institution, but acknowledged that several proposals were made. The details in this report.
Professor Miser noted that the learning institution understood that there were many prospective students who wanted to access the services offered by the university, and as such, the administration will not make a decision which will hamper the application process for entrance into the center. He was at the time addressing calls being made for the university's tuition to be increased.
We have to be concerned, even if you have some increase in tuition, that people who are disadvantaged, students who are disadvantaged, have still a similar or an equal opportunity like those who are advantaged to get into the university. Nobody must be denied admission on the basis that they are not able to pay.
Miser noted, however, that if it comes to the point where changes have to be made to the current tuition fees, it will not be an abrupt decision. Miser related too that the general public should see any change to the tuition fees as an adjustment, given the rate of exchange of the US dollar versus the Guyana dollar.
They had pegged it at 127,000 tuition fees in relation to the 1,000 Guyana American dollar. That situation, as you know, is not the same. So what we're trying to do is to make some adjustments. That's all we're doing. It's not an increase. It's really an adjustment to that. And it will not be presented carte blanche on the students. There will be a consultation process. It's supposed to start this month. I don't think it's started yet, but it will start. And there will be students, you know, the student body and other kinds of people will be making comments, and we'll have to look at, you know, what the consultation outcomes would be. And on the basis of those outcomes, decisions will be made. But it's not an increase, it's an adjustment.
The Pro-Chancellor told the Evening News that more than 19 years has passed since the university has adjusted its tuition fees despite the depreciation in the Guyana dollar. At the time of the finalizing of tuition fees some 19 years ago, US $1,000 was equivalent to 127,000 Guyana dollars. Today, however, that amount is equivalent to $200,000 or more depending on current exchange rates. For the Evening News, Gomati Gangade.
The Region 10 Regional Democratic Council has put on hold a proposal by Chinese logging company Bai Shanlin Forestry Development Inc. for the development of a wood processing plant in the region. The RDC cited non-compliance of environmental health and safety guidelines as the main reasons for the action. The company is seeking permission from the RDC for the establishment of 2 plants along the Soosdijk-Linden Highway and at Lower Kumaka Demerara River, Region 10. Regional Chairman Sharma Solomon says that the proposals are not new, adding that the RDC has now mounted pressure on the company, which has been involved in activities in the community for some time, to step up in putting certain necessary environmental systems in place. This is the Evening News. Stay tuned for more. Welcome back. This is the Evening News on TVG. Former President Bharat Jagdeo has admonished CARICOM heads of state for not doing more to develop the agriculture sector in CARICOM. Let's find out more in this report.
Former President Barry Jagdeo says there is a need for a sense of urgency among policymakers to tackle the issues affecting the agricultural sector. Jagdeo blamed the CARICOM heads for not taking a proactive approach towards the development of agriculture in the CARICOM community. Jagdeo lamented the need for such an approach to help combat the receding levels of production in agriculture. He noted that even with the rippling effects of climate change, more can be done to ensure the longevity of agriculture in this part of the world. He said that there is a clear indication that there is something wrong given the academic success and still no similar causes to celebrating the agricultural sector. Pointing to the $4 billion CARICOM food import bill from the U.S., the former head of state pointed out that there was a decline in the budgetary allocation for agriculture in regional countries. He also noted that employment opportunities in the sector has decreased. For the Evening News, I'm Gabriella Patram.
The University of Guyana's Pro-Chancellor, Professor Prem Mizir, says, contrary to what has been reported in some sections of the media, he was not asked to resign by the university administration, but rather it was a decision taken on his own will. More in this report.
Professor Mizir cleared the air on Friday as he stated what circumstances led to his resignation. Mizir told the media operatives that contrary to the position adopted by the university, he had opted to resign for almost a year now.
My intentions are, I'm basically somebody from the academic world, and I have a lot of other professional career goals and interests that I want to consume. I have lots of time left and I want to do a lot more things.
The Pro-Chancellor will be pursuing many other interests. He believed that he has served the university and the country to the best of his abilities thus far.
We have to be concerned, even if you have some increase in tuition, that people who are disadvantaged, students who are disadvantaged, have still a similar or an equal opportunity like those who are advantaged to get into the university. Nobody must be denied admission on the basis that they are not able to pay.
He disclosed that until June 2nd comes, he will be shouldering his responsibilities and duties as he did before to the best of his ability. Asked if the university's smooth running will be jeopardized, Dr. Mizir responded in a negative, noting that it was because the university faced no consequences with his resignation that he had taken such a decision. He believes that the university had no major concerns or pressing issues and is well on the road to bigger successes. Professor Mizir has served as UG's Pro-Chancellor for 4 terms since he was first appointed on October 21, 2003. Reporting for the Evening News, Gomati Gangadin.
In this report, you'll hear that a set of roads and a new Neighborhood Democratic Council were commissioned in Port Morant, Berbice. Details in this report.
Roads and the rehabilitated Port Morant Neighborhood Democratic Council NDC on the quarantine in Berbice, which were done under the Community Roads Improvement Program CRIP, were commissioned yesterday by Minister of Housing and Water Irfan Ali and Chairman of the Regional Democratic Council Region 6 David Armagan. Ali gave in remarks stated that community development is very important to the PPPC administration and there is much more work to be done in communities across the country.
Government, first of all, understand the needs of our people. There are things that we are still to do right. There are a lot of areas that still needs improvement. But I can assure you, in the People's Progressive Party civic government lies the commitment in ensuring that we get it done. We are not shy to ask for your forgiveness in areas that we might have fallen short in. But at the same time, we ask you, the residents, to continue to work with us, to continue to support us in bringing development to your communities.
The CRIP program catered for the rehabilitation of the NDC building, training of staff, development of a maintenance manual, rehabilitation of 5.5 kilometers of road, the cleaning, reshaping and realigning of existing roads, drains and the construction of new drains in Port Morant, among other works. Meanwhile, Chairman of the Regional Democratic Council Region 6 David Armagan said that repairing the roads was never the problem. The problem was making sure that the repairs are done by professionals and have high standards.
The quality of works on this road has been up to standard. mainly because of the fact that when we certify that the contractor should be paid, is that the works have been done and executed in accordance with the contract documents. I think most of you understand, and most of you who would have been living in some of these roads, is that we took particular care and attention to the quality of materials, the type of compaction. We had our difficulties because the roads were designed by a previous designer, and there were certain modifications which we didn't pick up during the design review period that had to be done.
Over the last 3 weeks, the Ministry of Housing and Water along with CRIP staff have been traveling around the country commissioning roads, NDCs and other infrastructure in communities. Thus far, they have visited the communities of Enmore on the east coast of Demerara and Mahaiko on the west coast of Berbice. For the evening news, I'm Gabriela Patram.
Government says it is committed to holding local government elections as it announced that steps are underway for the establishment of a local government commission.
The minister was at the time responding to questions posed by reporters at the press conference held at his office. He said although President Donald Ramotar had assented to 3 critical pieces of local government reform legislation, the situation has made it hardly possible to revitalize local government bodies such as the Georgetown City Council, which is currently in a state of disarray.
We have asked that an investigation be done with respect not only to the role of Mr. King during this period, but there are several other officers who have been guilty of acts of impropriety, officers who have been guilty of being disrespectful to authority within the council.
He said that it was his ministry's responsibility to initiate the process for the operation of the commission. He argued, however, that while this may be the case, nothing prevents the opposition from identifying candidates to sit on the commission. He said that if the names were submitted, then another hurdle to be crossed will be the election of a chairman of the commission.
The local government commission has to be staffed. We're talking about for the opposition identifying persons to sit on that commission, 4, and government identifying persons to sit on that commission. We are talking about election, voting on a chairman for that or chairperson for that commission. We are talking also about accommodation for the commission. So there's more to it than just saying the word.
Minister Whittaker could not say when the entire process will be wrapped up and a functioning commission activated. He declined to give any specific commitment, saying that he did not wish to speculate. He also was unable to say when local government election was likely to be held. As long as the commission remains unconstituted, the minister contended that he was empowered to appoint an individual to act as the town clerk. This was affirmed in the decision by the acting Chief Justice Ian Chang. Questioned about the enactment of critical legislation signed by the president last year, the minister appeared to be indicating that voter education and a lack of preparedness for the elections were the major bugbears to forward movement on the issue. For the evening news, I'm Alexis Rodney.
Now for some news from the courts. 19-year-old Samuel Archer of Lot 177 Durban Street was ordered to do 40 hours of community service after he pleaded guilty to a simple larceny charge when he appeared today at the Georgetown Magistrates Court before Magistrate Kevin Best. The charge alleged that on Wednesday, May 7, 2014 at Durban Street, the defendant stole one speaker valued $45,000 from his mother, Wanda Rowe. The woman stated that while she was at work, she got a call concerning her son. After arriving at her home, she noted his speaker box was gone. A complaint was lodged and an investigation was carried out, after which her son was told of the charges and arrested. Both the accused and the complainant asked the court for leniency since it was his first offense. The accused must complete the 40 hours of community work on or before July 31, 2014. If it is not completed by then, a prison sentence would be imposed. In case you just joined us, you're watching the evening news. Stay tuned. Welcome back. This is the Evening News on TVG. The Guyana Bar Association says that before considerations are made at either reforming or abolishing the jury system in Guyana, analysts should be hired to assess the woes and strengths of Guyana's jury system. Jomo Paul reports.
Noting the importance of the jury system to law in Guyana, head of the GBA, Bert Smith, says that before policymakers decide whether or not to abolish the jury system, they should have the systems reviewed by external professionals.
So I think before you identify that at one stage of this there's a problem, which is the jury, you first need to do an honest assessment of all those other things that are going into the process to determine whether or not they are adequate. The fault indeed lies with the jury system. The jury system has been such a fundamental part of the jurisprudence of the country. For as long as we've been independent, it's been an important part of the system in many parts of the common law world. And while it is true that some countries have seen it fit to abolish it or reform it radically, I'm sure those countries did so after careful consideration of where the problem really lies, if there's a problem.
He pointed out that presently the lack of convictions in the courts can be attributed to several factors, including the lack of public confidence in the police force.
Is the reason why the juries are disregarding evidence led by prosecutors which come from the police because the police are no longer trusted? Or is it the jury's fault? My own view, and this of course is just as anecdotal and perhaps just as dangerous as the other anecdotal observations, is that perhaps we reached this stage where you're getting the outcomes you have because the public don't trust the police. And that's no fault of the jury system. It's perhaps an indication of the lack of confidence that the public now have in the police.
He said that consideration must also be placed on whether the jurors are provided with adequate evidence when the cases are presented to them.
I think before anybody who is looking on, especially someone who has not participated in the trial, someone looking on can come to any conclusion, they need to analyze properly what are the reasons why this may be so. I think first we need to study what is the evidence that the jury has heard. Are we devoting adequate resources to prosecutors? Does the DPP have sufficient skilled and experienced prosecutors? Are the police who gather evidence and present the preliminary inquiry evidence in the magistrate's court, are they sufficiently skilled, sufficiently resourced? I think as someone who practices in the magistrate's court, I can tell you quite easily that police prosecutors are grossly overwhelmed by the amount of work they're expected to do on a given basis. I think at the investigative stage, everyone will agree that the police are functioning without adequate resources and adequate training.
AG Al-Nanla had said that the jury system would be reformed in the near future. Political activist Ralph Ramkaran had said that policymakers need to abandon the entire idea of having a jury system. For the Evening News, Jomo Paul.
Back in the courts, 30-year-old Clive Cardwell, an attendant of Medical Arts Hospital who resides at 72 Agricola East Bank, Demerara, was today placed on $10,000 bail after he appeared before Magistrate Kevin Best at the Georgetown Magistrates Court to answer the charge of breaching the peace. The charge alleges that on Saturday, May 10, 2014, at Williamston Road, North Rhinefeld, he provoked Melinda Nicholson, henceforth breaching the peace. The accused is scheduled to reappear in the Georgetown Magistrates Court on June 24, 2014. Agriculture Minister Dr. Leslie Ramsamy has deemed it totally unacceptable that the Caribbean region is spending billions of dollars for the importation of food, way more than what is paid for exportation. Alexis Rodney reports.
Ramsamy estimates that for the year 2014, over $5.5 billion will be spent for the importation of food into the region, when compared to the U.S. $1.5 billion that will be exported in food products.
I find it totally unacceptable that a region like this would not be able to meet at least our own food demands.
The minister was addressing students and teachers at the launching of the agriculture science as a new Cape subject at the Theatre Guild on Monday. The minister said what is even more distressing is that efforts are being made to export what the region can barely produce for itself.
This year, at least 3 countries would import more than $1 billion of food: Jamaica, the Bahamas, and Trinidad and Tobago. We in Guyana, this giant of agriculture in this region, would this year spend more than $250 million importing food into our region.
Ramsamy reported that the region had last year spent over $300 million purchasing milk from New Zealand, the United States and Argentina. According to the minister, that amount of money is too much for a region that constantly complains about its poverty level. The agriculture minister demonstrated his passion when he presented to the gathering sets of carrots and beets that were harvested from a farm.
These hands did this. It's carrots and this is beet. You know that purplish thing that you get when you go to the restaurant? And these for beta carotene and for iodine, they're rich in it. Good food. But we were told at one time that we can't grow it in the region. And so last year, the Caribbean imported between $8 and $10 billion worth of carrots and $3 million worth, US dollars, of beef.
Guyana's former head of state, Dr. Barrett Jaglio, recently made a similar call, urging leaders of the Caribbean territories to address the declining agriculture sector in the region. Jaglio said there was a decline in the budgetary allocation for agriculture in regional countries, which has led to a decline in employment opportunities within the sector. For the evening news, I'm Alexis Rodney.
A visiting Hindu team is calling on Guyanese politicians to demonstrate more humility while discharging their responsibilities to the people as they are here to serve. Gabriela Patram reports.
A 6-member team from India is in Guyana to bring more awareness to their Hindu brothers and sisters about the concept known as Shanta Dharma. This concept means that quality cannot be removed from an object. One of the members of the team, a Swami, explained that if the concept to be internalized and practiced among the Guyanese populace, the society would become more developed and a better place to coexist. The Swami noted that Guyanese leaders stand to benefit significantly if they would become more humble while executing their duties.
Stop trying to enjoy. Stop trying to exploit. Especially those persons who are leaders have special responsibility. Unfortunately, these days leaders are not taking a position to serve, they're taking a position to exploit. But they're not thinking how long they'll be in power, 5 years, 10 years. And when death comes, what they'll take with them. When we die, the only thing we take with us are our activities. So people are very foolish because they steal so much money, exploit and cheat others, but you cannot take that with you. So any message to the leaders of society, try and be ideal. Because in Bhagavad Gita, you've heard of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yad yada chariti shreshtas tatari vatarojana. What example the leaders set, the common man will follow.
Meanwhile, Swami Damodara refers to Guyana as his home because he is always willing to assist in the development of Guyanese Hindus. He advised that this evening there will be a Hindu fest taking place at the Belfast Mandir on the east coast of Demerara.
Tonight we have a temple there at Bladen Hall in School Road. They're on the east coast, so behind Best Buy Hardware. So we have programs there every Sunday, and I don't know if people get a chance, but tonight is a very big festival beginning at 6 o'clock for the appearance of one incarnation called Narasinghadev. So requesting everyone, please come to the temple. Programs begin every Sunday at 2:30. So please inviting everyone to come to that.
When persons come tonight, what can they expect if they attend?
Something different.
Damodara Maharaj was born in Australia and has been living in India for the past 25 years. For the evening news, I'm Gabriela Patram.
Join us after the break for more news. This is the Evening News. Welcome back. This is the Evening News on TVG. Now some news from the region. St. Lucia's Police Commissioner Vernon Francois says while he welcomed the probe into alleged extrajudicial killings by the members of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, He is also hoping it will bring a degree of closure to the situation. The probe was conducted by members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force under the auspices of the Caribbean Community CARICOM, Implementation Agency for Crime and Security. The probe was initiated after the United States announced that it was cutting back aid to the police force, and the Kenny Anthony administration had said the assistance from Washington would remain suspended until the inquiry was held. The Jamaican investigators were conducting the independent probe into 12 alleged extrajudicial killings dating back to 2010, during which period there were claims that local officers had a hit list of criminals who were being targeted. 5 of the killings occurred during one incident. Internationally, several miners are reported to have been killed after an explosion and a fire at a coal mine in western Turkey. Up to 300 other workers are believed to be trapped underground at the mine in Soma Manisa province. Those trapped are about 2 kilometers or 1.2 miles below the surface and 4 kilometers from the mine's exit. Search and rescue operations are taking place. It is estimated that 580 workers were underground at the time of the blast, but that many escaped. Union officials said the blast occurred during a change of shifts, resulting in uncertainty about exactly how many miners were still inside. The Turkish President Abdullah Gül has ordered the regional governor to deploy all resources to rescue the miners. This is the evening news, where we now take a look at your bridge reports. The Demerara Harbour Bridge will be closed on Wednesday, May 14 at 14 hours 30 for a period of 1.5 hours, and the Berbice River Bridge will be closed on Wednesday, May 14 at 15 hours 30 for a period of 1.5 hours. And for those of you using the ferry service, the Purican Supernam ferries will be departing at 4 a.m. on Wednesday, May 14, 2014. Both ferries are also slated to depart their respective locations at 16 hours on Wednesday, May 14, 2014. Join us after the break for sports, sponsored by MacCorp. This is News. Welcome back. Now for a look at sport, but first, the headlines. Lima calls CPL and WICB to fund first-class contracts. Cult Energy drink on board with EBFA Under-17 football. Chennai Super Kings surge to the top of IPL table, and Yuvraj Singh hands RCB victory over Daredevils. Of course, the sportcast comes to the kind compliments of MacCorp.
This is the machine you asked for, and it's what we are delivering. Introducing the new CAT D2 series.
Improvements made with you in mind. A mechanically controlled engine designed to cope with Guyana's toughest conditions. Lower fuel consumption and less maintenance, which reduces your owning and operating costs. The highest productivity in the market. Robust design, which is built to last. MacCorp, the only authorized Caterpillar dealer in Guyana, bringing integrated solutions for your success. Let's build Guyana together.
Welcome back. Now for the details. We start off with some cricket news. The West Indies Cricket Board announced today that a critical funding component for the professionalization of first-class cricket will be provided by the Limacol Caribbean Premier League, which will contribute $360,000 towards the annual retainer contracts for first-class players. Details in this report. Following the last board meeting in March, the WICB announced the approval of a 19-point plan for the complete professionalization of first-class cricket in the Caribbean, starting with the next season of regional cricket. As part of the plan, 15 players in each of the 6 territories will be contracted on a full-time, year-round basis. This will allow for 90 first-class players to be annually contracted, joining those under the WICB annual retainer contracts. The WICB Chief Executive Officer Michael Muirhead said, quote, "The professionalization of first-class cricket in the Caribbean is long overdue, and finally we have taken a firm decision to realize this. It will be a most costly venture, but one which is absolutely necessary for West Indies cricket to move forward. We are exceedingly grateful to the CPL for this significant commitment towards the funding of these annual first-class contracts." End quote. Chief Executive Officer of the Limacol CPL, Damien O'Donoghue, praised the development. Quote, "A fundamental part of CPL is securing the future of cricket in the Caribbean by creating a platform for the next generation of stars to showcase their talents to a global audience. Our partners at WICB are working towards getting West Indies cricket back to the top across all forms of the game, and we at CPL will endeavour to play our part in that mission. The WICB approached us with this new vision, and following discussions with President Dave Cameron and Director of Cricket Richard Pybus, we didn't hesitate to embrace it." End quote. West Indies Players Association President and Chief Executive Officer Wavell Hines was also positive about the development. He said, and I quote, "WIPA welcomes the contribution of the CPL to this program, and we have also played a pivotal role in the process of bringing the professionalization of the first-class game in the region closer to reality. Our members voted unanimously at our last AGM to support the initiative and agreed to take the steps asked of them to make it happen. We see it as a great opportunity for a broader base of our membership to earn a living from the game." End quote. Under the new professional first-class structure, the contracts will see players being part of a first-class franchise system, the details of which will be made public shortly. Football news. Continental Group of Companies, through its Cult Energy drink, has partnered with the East Bank Football Association to stage the inaugural Under-17 League for teams along the East Bank corridor. The tournament was officially launched this morning, as we hear in this report. The launch took place at the company's headquarters at Industrial Site Rijnveld, where Corporate Secretary Percival Boyce spoke of the entity's commitment towards football's development in the East Bank of Demerara.
The management and staff of Continental Group of Companies with the Cult brand energy drinks take this opportunity to congratulate the EBFA for their initiative with the tournament aimed at preparing our youths for the challenges ahead, and as such, our best wishes are extended to the participating teams, the coaches, referees, and executives of the EBFA.
Secretary of the East Bank Football Association, Franklin Wilson, said the tournament will kick off on Saturday with 8 teams vying for supremacy.
This tournament here is more or less a continuation of the developmental program for the East Bank Football Association. As you know, we completed the Trophy Style on the 15 a short while ago, and we're currently playing the Stag Senior League. This partnership with Continental and the Cult Energy Drink brand is something that we intend to maintain over the coming years. We're also focusing on encouraging the youngsters to stay in school because, as you know, education is important and there's a life after football.
Wilson posited that the competition is not just about kicking a football for 90 minutes, but rather setting a solid foundation for the next generation of footballers on the East Bank.
Because ultimately the East Bank Association is looking to ensure that our players get access beyond the shores of Guyana, aim for higher success. And we've already commenced negotiations with a top club from another country in terms of partnering with that entity to have exposure for our players, administrators, and the other persons involved in the game.
Set to do battle in the competition are Kurukururu Warriors, Sousdike Falcons, Temeri Panthers, Grove High Tech, Diamond United, Hurstellen United, Mocha Champs, and Agricola Red Triangle. Back to some cricket news, but from the international scene. Chennai Super Kings surged to the top of the points table by defeating Rajasthan Royals by 5 wickets. Skipper Shane Watson hit 4 sixes and a top score of 51 as Rajasthan made 148 for 8, with Mohammad Sharma taking 3 for 31. In reply, Dwayne Smith stroked 44, Faf du Plessis 38 and Mahindra Dhoni an unbeaten 26 to guide Chennai to victory at 149 for 5 with 2 balls remaining. Let's now take a look at the highlights of the run chase.
McCullum aggressive early on and wanted to take on that new ball and decided to play some shots when the wicket was at its best, knowing that it would slow up and become more difficult. Smith in particular at his belligerent best. Tried to take on the sweep shot. McCullum hit it straight to the man at square leg and perished. Smith carried on his merry way, finding the boundary as he has done frequently during this IPL. Both sides of the wicket peppering the boundary. Lovely shot over the top, over mid-off. Was really in good touch. Rayner came to the crease again, tried to find the gap on the leg side. On this occasion, finding the short fine leg.
It was always hard work. I thought Cooper bowled well tonight, but in the end, the back end of it all, with Dhoni out there and du Plessis, it was always going to be very, very difficult. A couple of lucky little boundaries that helped them along the Chennai Super Kings. And in the end, it just didn't quite go their way. They needed something special, and we thought, well, when that happened, it was going to be all over. Du Plessis went for 38 from 39. And then Ashwin came in and didn't last very long, and he went. And then Rajasthan suddenly had the momentum, but MS Dhoni kept his cool and put the pressure back on the bowler. But Faulkner with du Plessis, and then Jadeja picked up a couple. But at the back end of it all, it was all MS Dhoni. Through the leg side, got down to the last over, and the winning runs. They squeezed 2, and then there was an overthrow, and they ended up with 3, and that was it. Rajasthan not quite having enough runs on the board, and the Chennai Super Kings go to top of the table in the Pepsi IPL for 2014.
And finally, Yuvraj Singh blasted 9 sixes in a brutal 29-ball 68 to power Royal Challengers Bangalore to a 16-run win over the Delhi Daredevils. Yuvraj's knock spurred RCB to 186 for 4, with AB de Villiers chipping in with 33 and Partheev Patel 29. As you would now notice in the highlights package, Daredevils lost wickets at regular intervals, mustering 170 for 7, with JP Duminy making 48.
In the hunt for that top 4, of course, the run chase. Boys, it didn't start well.
It went early, straightforward decision. And then 2 runs were leaked, and then Quinton de Kock getting a bit of a leg side into the stumps. And Agarwal hitting a big one off Muralidharan. This one just clearing Vijay Roll, his short man. Peterson was looking to be aggressive, played some big shots. And Agarwal getting to the pitch of the ball, striking clean against the leg spinner. The runs were coming easily at that stage. Partnership was building up, and that was broken. A very good catch by Sachiwala at long on. Duminy, in outstanding form right through this year's IPL, was the man they depended. Got some big sixes against the leg spinner Chahal, and Peterson departed. They got 15 runs in the over. On the final delivery, Peterson's charge at the leg spinner was dismissed. Dinesh Karthik followed soon after. Looking for a 6, Charles got safe down hands. Wicket started to feel. Regulator was apart from JP Duminy. Abu Nacheem was smashed flat into the offside for a 6. Nicely worked by Duminy again. And he was knocked over by a good delivery from Mitchell Starc. Poppage runs away to the boundary. It was all too late. Asking if rate was getting bigger and bigger. Yadav played this far, getting 37 of 20. But towards the end, Rahul Shukla was struggling to make contact. Yadav was run out.
Yeah, and finally Virat Kohli had something to smile about. 186 for 4, and the Royal Challengers winning the match by 16 runs. The Daredevils only managing 170 for 7. 4th win for them. Chasing a top 4 spot, of course. Chennai Super Kings, Kings 11, Punjab at the top. Top 4 teams all qualify for the playoffs.
And with that, we've come to the end of sport, which is sponsored by MarCorp. Of course, you can find these and many more stories in tomorrow's edition of the Guyana Times. And here's an invitation to join us on TVG Channel 28 and on Radio Guyana Inc. 89.3 in Essequibo, 89.5 in George and Environs, and 89.7 in Berbice and Unicary, Suriname. With that, we've come to the end of the evening news for today, Tuesday, May 13, 2014. I'm Avinash Ramzan. From all of us here, thanks for watching.